Hello. Let's continue with our discussion on BRICS and in the context of the 15th summit, which is happening in Johannesburg, South Africa. And this will be a build on the earlier video we did yesterday. Now, since then, the main members, except Mr. Putin, who did it online, President Xi, President Lula, Prime Minister Modi, President Ramaphosa, have spoken as their initial arguments. And while we speak just now, they are having their first plenary session. We yesterday identified 5 issues. A, expansion of BRICS. B, common currency. C, NDB. D, food security. And other issues related to infrastructure, etc. Now, the conclusion which seems to be emerging from the speeches of the presidents yesterday and plenary today is that the alliance is not supposed to be anti-West. Though Mr. Putin is talking about the hegemony of the West, he is not emphasizing that aspect too much. President Xi of China is more willing for faster expansion. Mr. Lula is not that keen on expansion, but is proposing the name of the second largest country in South America, namely Argentina. Mr. Xi is pushing the name of Iran. India is, so I was just saying that in the plenary sessions, somebody has already been given, and the session is still going on, so I just mention it on the surface yet, and we will take it up much better tomorrow. And that is that China is supporting the induction of Iran. In South America, Mr. Lula, the president of Brazil, is supporting the induction of Argentina. The name of Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates is very strongly being supported. But the alliance is not yet ready to get into the common currency stage, and they admit that that will take time. And in any case, the whole setup is for inclusive growth. It is for development of the poorer countries. It is to have reform of the developmental institutions, banks like that, World Bank, and their own bank, National Development Bank, which goes forward and also gives loan in local currencies. And for the food security, that they take care of the poor countries, especially in the Africa. Yesterday, in one-to-one of President Xi and President Ramaphosa, China has emphasized that they will be supporting the infrastructure development in South Africa, particularly energy, electricity, and other infrastructure. And a number of MOUs have also been signed. So to that extent, Chinese president was the main actor. He got State Award of South Africa, and the summary seems to be whatever we have predicted earlier. Now let's look at what have been the responses from elsewhere. The White House representative this morning gave a feedback which is generally that China is wanting to create problems in Taiwan, and Russia is creating problems in Ukraine, and so on. And Lula and, or rather, Brazil and India are kind of supportive of West, but this will not be able to become anything comparable to G7. Now, that's a negative comment. It's not anything policy related. BRICS has not done, it's too small, it is just growing to hurt anybody. If they're going to look after the needs of global south, well, then that's a very good thing for the global economy. And put together whatever 20 more or 10 more or 30 more get inducted now, and then the others next year or next year, maybe at a rate of 10 nations per year, this will become the dominant economic bloc. There is no doubt about it. Now, there is no desire at this point of time to become a military bloc. Yes, the large countries which have been unfairly sanctioned, like Iran, Iraq, Argentina, Venezuela. Venezuela is the largest producer of oil otherwise in the world, but can't sell anything. Iran is also fifth or sixth, but can't sell anything legally. So they will have a desire to join this group. And main thing is there, which is not being talked about now, is that the BRI, the Silk Road infrastructure, which has been created and is being created by China, knitting all together the whole of the world through ports and airports and railroads and communication links, etc., would actually tie up these nations, because some people say they are not contiguous, like the European Union or the ASEAN. Well, in today's world, actually you don't require to be contiguous because communication systems are available. And if you have a good railway system, for example, whole of the Eurasian region now is connected to China on one hand and Europe on the other. So there's a through train which goes. We have supported, that is India, has supported this ISRTC in Iran to connect St. Petersburg in Russia down the way to Chabahar port, which we have also acquired already few berths. And from there we can go to Afghanistan and the rest of Eurasia, that is Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and so on. In other words, the infrastructure is knitting it together. Otherwise, Russia seems too far. But otherwise, we'll just take a ship from west coast of India, maybe a Gujarat port, go to Chabahar, and from Chabahar sit down in a train, which we have financed, to go to St. Petersburg. And material can come from St. Petersburg, oil can come, other things can come. Similarly, Russia is building this infrastructure called Power of Siberia pipeline from Siberia to, earlier there was one, and now the second one is coming to China. So straight away the oil goes from Siberia to China. So in other words, economic integration today does not mean that you have to be contiguous. You can cross boundaries also in terms of relationships and so on. Even this ISRTC will be passing through Albania to go to Russia. So we have some relationship with Albania now. Now coming back to it, therefore, though we will know better up to tomorrow, that this has taken on. It has become second gear. BRICS, it might become third gear, because there will be integration in terms of the food supplies, grains, sunflower oil, wheat, which Russia has a lot of surplus of. India, which has a surplus now of wheat as well as rice, and there is a shortage in African nations. So if you become integrated, then overall there is no shortage, and there is a market. Hence, it's a positive sum game. But what it does mean is that what West, especially US, has been talking about decoupling, yes, decoupling will take place from China and Russia because of sanctions. India was in between, but always afraid also that sanctions may be put on India because of buying oil from Russia, which is a sanctioned oil and available at a discount. Having said this, that if this decoupling is taking place, then a recoupling is also taking place with other nations. So West thinks that, we will not give technology to A, B, C, D, or we will not buy goods of China and Russia. It doesn't mean that they will not be able to sell goods. Russia has proved that it has been able to sell that oil, which Europe did not take, and destroyed those pipes which Russia has made with tens of billions of dollars of investment. Actually blew them up. But in the end, who is the loser? The prices that have gone up 2 times, 3 times. And price of oil goes up 2 to 3 times, means the price of manufactured product goes up, they become expensive, they become non-competitive. So So the loss to Europe has been there. It's not um, a positive sum game. It's a zero sum game because you make Russia lose, then Europe loses. On the other hand, so since the stance taken is not anti-West, and uh, Mr. Lula and Mr. Modi are kind of considered more neutral, while China is not that neutral because of the pressures on it, and certainly Russia, because it has been sanctioned, it is not neutral. Why should it be neutral? And on the other hand, the feedback from Africa is that, whatever surveys are there or otherwise, generally, 1,600 journalists had come. A lot of them have written lots of stories in the summit. And there is a very positive feeling towards China and Russia and India and even Brazil, because Brazil can supply agricultural commodities also. So it looks like it will be a positive sum game. For the oil, the relationship with China, India, and Brazil will become very strong for Russia and in between countries. And they will have sufficient military might also that nobody can come and take issues with them. So now, therefore, summarizing this BRICS summit so far is that so far so good. It's going in the right direction. There have been no negative issues. There have been no protests. There have been no other things. South Africa already has got a number of projects support. NDB, people are liking. Nobody is saying NDB is not a good bank, and therefore are going to go there. And NDB has said that they will be, in addition to the dollars and the euros, they will be issuing the local currency bonds, picking up the money and giving the loan with local currency. So let's see that the time for BRICS Plus has come. How much plus that it is, we will see. Such organizations do start small. European Union has started with 6 members and then grew. It first started with a common community for steel and coal, and then slowly progressed and became a custom union. And from there, what we see of the European Union today, that there are no customs within, only outside customs are there. That is also standardized. So obviously the economy becomes better and better. Here, therefore, we are talking about in terms of civilizational change. Here we are talking, just like the 17th, 18th and 19th century, starting with 17th, but 18th and 19th century, but particularly 19th century. It was a time of the Europeans. They were ahead in certain technologies, they were ahead in fire, they were ahead in fire meaning fire weapons, they were ahead in ships, and then slowly the US started taking on in the 20th century, and 20th century was dominated by USA. From year 2000 onwards, the maturity of Japan, the maturity of Korea, the maturity of a very large nation like China, and the growth path of India getting into second gear. Now it is in third gear, and hopefully now it will get in fourth gear. So with these economies, therefore, the economic weight, the economic center of gravity has already shifted to Asia. There is absolutely no doubt about it. And Russia, which always used to be ambivalent in between whether it's a European nation or an Asian or Eurasian, so now, since it has been cut off from the Europe, it has become the Eurasian nation also. So with the Middle East oil, with the resources of Russia, the resources of Africa, which is very, very resource rich, and in any case, the way the maps are drawn, it doesn't look very big. It is the biggest continent, and its individual countries are very, very large. Niger, where recent coup has taken place, is actually bigger than France, of which it was a colony, and it supplies uranium and gold to France. France makes all the money. France has 13 colonies like this, used to, and now the Africa is picking up that yoke and throwing it away. And similarly, wherever the UK was there. Belgium had a colony, now it's called Democratic Republic of Congo. Earlier it used to be called Belgian Congo. It is 80 times the size of Belgium. 80 times, 80. And of course, full of resources. And these colonial nations did not even exploit the resources very well, except for gold and diamond luxury goods. like that. So having said this, this decoupling from the West and a recoupling in the East now has begun, pakka. What is the pace with which it goes will be what is advantageous to each one of them. So they will slowly start becoming like common markets and not have customs from the outside and the competition there. Now, interestingly, this part of the BRICS then is actually self-sufficient. There is nothing which they don't have, where they have to rely on somebody else. That's the greatest thing. Starting with agriculture commodities to manufactured goods to technical goods. And finally, what we come to is that if our Chandrayaan 3 rover, Vikram, or the vehicle Pragyan, they succeed in few years from now, then India would have established that it is not a Me Too nation again in technology also, because nobody has landed on the south side of the moon before. And what does it mean? That our technology for maneuvering things in the space, therefore anywhere else, our rockets are as superior. Most of the things are our own. Though, yes, some cooperative support is there from the European Space Agency and NASA in terms of monitoring the Chandrayaan, and especially taking care of the issue of what happened last time in Chandrayaan 2, because of which the crash took place. And the crash has taken place of DRS. So last 3-4 years, since Chandrayaan 2's non-success, China has sent its two missions there. Both of them failed. Japan has failed one mission. Israel had sent one mission. It failed. USA has not even sent its mission there. And Russia, unfortunately, failed in terms of lunar 25. So if India succeeds, it will be established that it is a leader. It is one of the leaders in the space technology and will have impact on relationships in terms of communications. Because you're going to throw up communication satellites, etc., and manage it in the low Earth orbit and so on. So these things will get combined, and then Mr. Modi leaves for Greece to work out some new agreements, and then he goes to Indonesia, which is the largest Islamic nation in the world, and could become also fourth or fifth largest economy in 5 years' time. So he will work out hopefully the free trade agreements and come back. So we are hoping for good results. It's good that India has kind of kept its profile low-key so that it does not annoy unnecessarily the West also. At the same time, becoming part of a grouping which is South-South, as we have been always talking in the lectures on the podiums. The South-South cooperation should be there. That is better. India obviously had said earlier also, and now I said that vaccines will help in the production of. Now, Africa is the largest consumer of vaccines, okay, for all kinds, polio and HIV and so on. But 98% of the vaccines are imported, and they're imported from the Western world through WHO or otherwise, etc., supposedly on the subsidy. But if it is some 10 times or 20 times and you give subsidy of 2 times, still you are paying very high price. So it looks like India will become contributor to vaccine production in Africa because 98% of vaccines today are imported. Now this is a point I'm making, that this is a synergistic, positive sum game. If these people come together, and Africa, of course, has a lot of resources which today are being exploited only by the ex-colonial powers. African countries get peanuts for it, and then they go and sell it at cashew price or roasted cashew price or selective cashew price, or whether it's diamond or it's gold or it's uranium or rare earth materials, and so on. So we will be perhaps talking after a few days about BRICS Plus, and we'll have to remember which are the countries which have become plus and how this grouping will grow. Currently, the population is 40% of these 5 nations, and 24% is the GDP of the world. If these 20 countries, let's say average 20 countries come, its population as well as GDP will be more than 50%. So that means that becomes the dominant bloc. That is an epochal change. It is a civilizational change. This is then the settlement of the Asian or the Afro-Asian century, which will start from 2025 or some year like that, around this time. Okay then, thank you very much.